This chapter has Ace, Sabo, and Luffy in it. Need I say more? Can we just end the video there? I mean, what more needs to be said, dude? We have the ASL brothers in a chapter once again, man. In a wonderful celebration for the 1100th chapter in this magnificent story. And I'll tell y'all what, man, that chapter hit me so hard. You remember at the beginning of the reaction, I was telling y'all how in the rewatch, I'm currently on the Duval stuff. And this chapter hit me so hard that I went through the entirety of Sabaody, the entirety of Amazon Lily, and currently towards the beginning of Impel Down. Because not only is that stuff extremely legendary, but with the context of this flashback, how it has truly changed and recontextualized everything that took place with Kuma, with Bonnie, that situation, the situation that took place there within Sabaody and Amazon Lily, right? Because even now, whenever I look back at the chapters where Hancock is discussing, you know, the hoof of the celestial dragons, the way that they were enslaved within the Holy Land, a lot of that stuff hits much different now, much different after this flashback. It really has enhanced everything in terms of making certain things either feel more tragic or just be like, man, Oda's a madman for having a lot of this stuff within his mind, right? And so it's just been great, man. Like, it's so cool how this series has continually done that, recontextualizing older arcs, making them better by receiving more information from the future. That way you enter it with a different lens. But in the course of Sabaody especially, right, it truly is. It's always been a special arc. But knowing all the stuff that we know about now about Kuma, it's just like, man. It's just like, bro. Man, what a character, what a... Just, I'm in awe. I'm in awe of the amount of just patience, the amount of detail, the amount of care and love that has been poured into this one character's story that has reverberated throughout multiple different characters. And now after this chapter, I really can't wait to see the conclusions of Kizaru, Sentomaru, Kuma, Bonnie, and Vegapunk. Because one does not get a panel of them doing the Nika dance and not do anything with it, right? Like, we gotta see what Oda's cooking in the kitchen with that, man. This chapter was not only sensational in regards to the continuation of the Kuma flashback content, which in and of itself has been just absolutely incredible, with some extremely emotional stuff in this week's chapter, but it also played to the strengths of the series in just showing recurring characters, the characters that we love, a year before the series began. And so when you have those pages back to back to back, of seeing the 7 warlords, of seeing my boy Ace, and then like Hancock and Jinbei and Whitebeard and Blackbeard and Dofi and Grok and Miss All Sunday, it's like, bro, it's a good time, man. We even had Perona and a Gecko Moria sighting in this chapter. But above all of that, we now have a cliffhanger of Kuma pulling up to Windmill Village, man. And it's like, I'm still at a loss as to what that could potentially lead to. I don't know, man, but I can't wait. I can't wait. So let's go ahead and get right into the comments that y'all left for the Afterthoughts this week. Starting us off here with Dark Dragon X7, who says, chapter was peak. Love that we not only got another people react to the latest event sequence, but it's full of awesome characters. I mean, truly, what the series is so known for. You know, it's marvelous cast that allows the world to feel like it's truly alive, right? Whenever we see these moving pieces, whenever we see characters continue on with their own stories, with their own things, it just makes everything feel so alive. It's the reason why the post arc chapters always hit in the way they do. And Final Saga Oda said post arc chapters in the middle of the arcs now, right? But this is one of those like post arc feel chapters of them reacting to what we just saw take place within the flashback. And so it felt like a post arc chapter in a flashback. It was really, really cool. Nothing but love to you. Then Prithvi comes in and says, rereading chapter 603 is giving me the chills, and it's something I also encourage everyone else to do by the end of this flashback. I will get there. I think I'll probably, at the pace that I'm going, I'm probably going to get to Return to Sabaody by the time the flashback ends. I don't even know, is the flashback even going to end by the end of the year? Let me see, we're on 1100. 1101 is next chapter. I'm not sure if the flashback could end next chapter. If it doesn't, that'll be 1102. I think that'll be it. Well, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get 1103 this year as well. Who knows? Regardless, I'll get there. Every time I get to Marineford on the rewatches, it always speeds up anyways. I mean, I watched like 3 arcs in a week, so we'll see what happens. About the last panel, my theory is that Kuma traveled to Fushi Village after hearing rumors of there being someone on the island who ate the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Now, this is fascinating, as I assume Kuma was familiar with the folklore of Nika having a body like rubber. He most likely met Luffy there and saw great promise of the future of the world in him, but unfortunately he had to erase Luffy's recollection of their meeting, as he cannot, under any circumstances, let a single word about him talking to someone closely related to dragons spread and eventually reach the government. That's so true. That's so true, man. Whatever it is, this was still such a curveball. I find it fascinating. Everything feels more and more connected the closer we get to the end of the series. 100%. Last week's chapter, this week's chapter, filled with those types of connections. We keep seeing the same faces, and with that montage of characters we just got, I'm starting to see the bigger picture of what the full all-star lineup of players in the final saga will be. Yo, I'm telling y'all, man, these characters acquiring full-time roles on a weekly basis, this is why the final saga is going to be the greatest of all time. Are you kidding me? This page, every week, every chapter, like, come on, man. Come on. I couldn't make it to the stream today because it took me so long to get to this monumental chapter. I never noticed you went live. That is so cool. And that is so cool. The fact that the chapter was so huge, it took you so long to digest it, that I don't feel alone now when it takes me an hour to read a chapter. So nothing but love to you, Prithvi. Nothing but love to you. I can't tell whether I want to break down and cry or just be thankful of how crazy the second half of this chapter went. I'm right there with you. It was such a beautiful, beautiful chapter. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to getting to that chapter 603 reread for sure. Left Jab 6145 comes in and says, this just shows and proves that even if Bonnie doesn't join the crew, Luffy's going to be a savior in her eyes, and if Kuma dies, he will die smiling, knowing Bonnie's in good hands, with Luffy/Nika saving the day. It even more so gives us reason to believe Luffy's dream is for everyone to be free to do what they want. You know, I'm so curious, and they're about to animate that soon, man. With Luffy's dream speech, I wonder what they're going to do to like cut it off before he says it, because it's gonna have to be another similar situation to what they did when I forgot the episode, but whenever Luffy originally said what he wanted to do to Ace back in the ASL flashback, and also similar to what took place in episode 1015. So I wonder how they're going to play with that in the anime. But regardless, no, you're absolutely right. In regards to the Bonnie situation, like you said, no matter what happens from this point forward, especially if the arc ends the way we think it's going to end, with a Nika who has finally freed Kuma from his shackles, whether Kuma dies or not, which we assume he is. But for him at the very end to be able to find that peace and that solace, as well as Bonnie, because of Monkey D, is going to lead to, until the series comes to a close, and even beyond that, Bonnie will forever see Luffy in that type of light, similar to Kuma. So I wonder how that how those interactions, how that relationship would develop from there on out, specifically for Bonnie heading into the end of the series, because y'all know me, man. Bonnie having this ability, I want at least one panel of her aging up the king. All right, I need to see the king with the scruffy beard, long hair going like right here, the straw. I need to see it. I need to see it, man. I don't care if it lasts for a page, a chapter, a panel. I want to see my boy. Especially if Luffy's gonna die at the end of the series. Let me see him. Let me see him as an adult, man. Let me see him as an adult in the present time. I think it'd be so cool. Regardless, you're absolutely right. Kuma's undoubtedly going to pass on, knowing full well that Bonnie's in good hands. That the individual that he's been putting all of his stock into, in Joy Boy and Nika, is actually going to set out and free the individuals that were like he was, right? And like the way that he still is. And bring happiness to those individuals that are currently going through a lot of similar situations. And so Kuma will be able to die smiling, like you said, knowing that Bonnie will be in good hands, and the rest of the world honestly will be in good hands. Thank you, Left Jab. Nasty Ninja comes in with a thank you, Bonnie. What a chapter, man. The fact that the title of the chapter is Thank You, Bonnie is crazy. The fact that we were back at Windmill for 1101 is nuts. Seriously, Nasty Ninja, like, I can't wait to see what we're back there for. Like, so many things, so many possibilities. But I'm definitely in line with what was said earlier by Prithee in regards to a potential Kuma maybe getting word of the fact that Luffy has the ability to stretch and made his way over to Windmill Village. Or it could have been to meet with a dragon, man. Who knows? Thank you. Alpha Moon 8367 comes in. It was nice seeing the Shibukai again, but I'm also surprised on Kobe's short appearance in the chapter. Definitely. Kobe and Alvida in the cut, right? With the recent spotlight he's been getting ever since Wano ended, I feel like Oda's planning something big for him. Absolutely. I feel like, especially now that we're heading towards the end of the series, the way that their journeys have been parallel to one another, to how, Luffy awakening Haki over here, Kobe awakening Haki over here. Even though Luffy, of course, has been rising through the ranks much faster, Kobe's a different animal compared to how he was at the beginning of the series. And it's that innate potential that is being realized here that Garp managed to get out of him, right? And I feel like the closer that we get to the finale, the final sections of the story, we're going to continue to see way more of Kobe, similar with the Revolutionary Army, because they're going to be so big and so important to the end game of the story. That Kobe undoubtedly, what Oda's what is putting in place, and with Kobe right now, especially with the recent events, is undoubtedly going to lead us into the stuff that he has planned for him at the end of the series, which, of course, fleet admiral potential. We know he's going to reach that status eventually because it is his dream. But to see the journey to that point, especially here within the final saga, is going to be so exciting. And since we got that those little bits and pieces of not only how he interacts with the emperors, feeling no fear in front of someone like Blackbeard, is really, really cool. But to be able to do what he did in that arc, to show that he stands on his business, man, it's like, nothing but love to Kobe. And I can't wait to see more from my boy. Can't wait to see more from my boy. Thank you so much for that. Let me see. Silver Shot 5208 comes in and says, dang, chapter 1100 was an amazing chapter. From Kuma greatness, Kizaru greatness, Vegapunk greatness, Warlord greatness, ASL greatness. ASL, bro. Saturn being heartless and irredeemable as always. Just gonna give my thoughts on Peak as always. This chapter ties even more loose ends from earlier events from the story, from Kuma's reason to become a warlord and cyborg, Vegapunk's satellites, and the bond between Kuma, Bonnie, Vegapunk, Kizaru, and Sentomaru being explored even more. That's probably my favorite part of the chapter, honestly, besides the That's tough to say. That's tough to say. I was about to say besides the Kuma and Bonnie stuff and seeing all the characters, but that was the chapter. You know, it's like every part of the chapter is left. Plus, them doing the Nico dance makes me think they're going to play a major part in the Stride to escape of Egghead. I hope so. I hope so. I you know, when I got to episode 405 on my rewatch for Sabaody, I was just thinking about how Kuma could potentially do the exact same thing he did at the end of Sabaody, except this time they know, and he's sending them to the same place. You know, Kuma realistically could slap them all the way to Elbaf. He could ask them, "Where do you want to go?" And Luffy and the boys will be like, "Yo, let's go to Elbaf. Send us to Elbaf." If there's one place that you could go, where would you want to go right now? I want to go to the land of warriors. Boom, boom, boom. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Right before Kuma's epic moment, he slaps them all away. A lot of possibilities, man. A lot of possibilities. Maybe we even have Bonnie's 10th straw hat after the incident happens. I'm so down for that if it's true. If it actually does take place. Plus, Bonnie would take the spot that we originally thought was going to go to Tama and Momonosuke as the cabin boy / cabin girl. Because technically Bonnie is still extremely young. So she could, bro, Luffy having another member of the worst generation under him. A warlord and actually technically two, because Law to me is a straw hat, so 2 warlords and 3 members of the worst generation. Come on, bro. Come on, man. Regardless, let me see. Even a decade after his death, he still continues to affect the story in a profound way. Without him, Kuma would have never gotten the warlord spot and would have not saved Bonnie in the process. 100%. Plus, it gives us more insight into how strong Ace was and could have become, bro. Ace. If Ace was... My boy Ace was still alive, bro. That's the strongest Conqueror's coding user besides Flippin' Shanks, man. Until Luffy gets up to him, alright? Like, Ace would have been him. And Mihawk, obviously. No question. Ace would have been him. Ace would have been him, man. It's a shame. It's a shame. Going further into the world situation, the warlord that was defeated by Ace could be the man brought by flames. Yeah, we were talking about that in the stream. That holds the last poneglyph. Who do you think this person could be? I honestly don't have an answer for either of them. For the man brought by flames or for the last warlord. I think now that has been introduced within this flashback, it obviously has some level of importance. Whether the individual is the man brought by flames. I think that is a possibility that I would honestly be down for. I would because it would give us another character like Yamato who, due to the direct consequences of what took place within the story, we saw what happened to them, right? And the way that they would become, you know, Yamato was directly impacted and affected by Luffy's failure at Marineford to save Ace. In a similar type of way, though opposite, would be Ace defeating this individual, and it led them towards some sort of path that would have them find the last road poneglyph, if this is true. And I just find that possibility to be very, very interesting. Could you imagine that? Like, someone loses, they lose their title of the 7th warlord, go out, get the last road poneglyph, and people need to meet this individual in order to go find the One Piece. He's been protecting this thing. So yeah, that's kind of wild. That's kind of wild to me. So I'm down. I'm down for that potential possibility. This chapter just made me advocate harder on my Kuma getting his get back on Saturn agenda, please. I need that, man. Imagine if Kuma takes the pain out of Luffy and they both defeat Saturn with a combination attack versus shock of Kuma's lifelong pain in Gear 5. That might be the greatest page in the series, man. Like, after this flashback, that honestly might be like top 5 page in the entire series, dude. As you pointed out, the cargo ship that delivered the materials to get belonged to the Yumit, one of the underworld emperors that was present at Big Mom's tea party at Whole Cake Island. Side note, I believe that when we get to Elbaf, we're getting more info on the underworld and how it functions 100%. because of the references to it in North mythology through Niflheim, right? Similar to what happened in Dressrosa, whenever we started seeing all of the references to like card games and stuff of that nature that we were getting up until that point to certain members of the underworlds, and then we got to see a little bit more of that within Whole Cake Island. So undoubtedly, I'm right there with you that we're going to see some of that stuff here within Elbaf for sure. This flashback basically confirms for me that Kuma's top 5 rated characters in the story, top 1 father in the story, and the most selfless character in the entire story. It's crazy, man. From taking the role of father after Ginny's death, to becoming a mindless cyborg to cure her of her disease, to basically loving and cherishing her even when she isn't his biological daughter. Toei got themselves a potential top 1 flashback right here. Nah, Toei needs to stop and not do this flashback. When this gets animated, and I know they're going to knock it out of the park when it comes time to see it, and I'm not going to be there. I won't be there. I won't be there, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be there. We're not taking part in that flashback. Not in the anime. We finally get to see Tofi 4 years after last appearance in chapter 956. Man, I've been missing my dog, man. I've been missing him so much. I think he's going to play a big role later on in the story and potentially might even contribute to the downfall of Celestial Dragons. I think that'd be really cool. Anything with these characters that we really love and appreciate, I'm so curious as to their role in the story, because obviously after the introduction of Cross Guild, we were like, okay, Doflamingo might end up joining Cross Guild, but we really don't know what Oda has in store for Doflamingo, right? We don't know what he's going to do once he gets out of Impel Down. How does he even get out of Impel Down? Who gets him out of Impel Down? Does he get himself out eventually? Like, what is going to happen with Don Quixote Doflamingo? I don't know. He's such a fascinating character, and obviously throughout the course of the story, it feels like he knows so much. He's even the one who told us about the treasure in the Holy Land, so it's like, what is he cooking, man? What's Dofy cooking, dude? I'm excited. And like you said, if he contributes to the downfall of Celestial Dragons, it would be even better. Kuma arriving to Fuchsia Village makes me think that it's related to the Nika fruit and the world government had figured out its location. That is also a fascinating possibility. However, what I think is going to happen is Kuma's going to lie to the world government and tell them that it's not at Fuchsia Village because of Luffy, as an embodiment of Nika, and due to Kuma's knowledge of Nika through his Buccaneer heritage. He's going to protect Luffy from harm. If Kuma actually does do that, he's already peak character, man. And he goes out of his way to be the reason why the Gorosei never chased after this individual. You know how peak that would be? Maybe it's because of Dragon/Garp's connection to the Goa Kingdom, and that's also a possibility too, that he might have been going there in search of either Garp or Monkey D. Dragon. Whatever the reason may be, flashback is going to provide a lot of context to the upcoming Egghead incident, and it's going to make the defeat of the Marines and Saturn so more satisfying. So don't forget that there are 3 major third parties at play: the Iron Giant, Caribou, and whoever is on the Blackbeard pirate ship. They might play big parts in the incident, so be mindful of them. Absolutely. You know, I keep forgetting Caribou is a character, bro. It's crazy, especially with what's going on. He's cooking something. He's cooking something. I can't stop thinking about the Iron Giant, though. That's like the one thing I can't forget, is the Iron Giant. It's such a fascinating X factor. The Iron Giant, man. Thank you, yo. Utkarsh comes in with a really, really cool 80s promo picture and says, Oda comes in with another banger backstory. Kuma backstory is in my top 2 now. Here are some of my afterthoughts. I love the fact that every Buccaneer we've seen in this so far, Kuma, Clap, and possibly Whitebeard, have been shown as great father figures. Yo, that's a great point. That's a great point. I didn't really think about that. They all have been fantastic father figures. That's a fantastic point. If Whitebeard truly is a Buccaneer, that is the thing that connects them all. Very subtle detail, but it's amazing. Kizaru doing the Nika dance was hilarious. Such a great page. This means Kuma has told him about Nika, and it'll be really interesting to see how Oda handles his character. Kizaru has a lot of potential. You know, he's always had a lot of potential just because of how awesome his character is. Had one of the best introductions, has such a cool ability. He's absolutely hilarious. Great interactions with the rest of the cast. He has a solid foundation to be a great character, even without adding depth on top of that. Now we're going to add some more stuff into his character that is going to add a lot more weight into the things that he does. there's a lot of potential there for Kizaru to be an all-timer for sure, especially since this is being cooked in the same arc that we got so much of that stuff for Kuzan. I'm looking forward to seeing what Oda has in store for Borsalino for sure. Now, the main part of the chapter, Kuma being in the East Blue. I think the government is sending him to retrieve the Nika fruit, but he might get stopped by a Garp or maybe even Dragon. The fact that Kuma knew Luffy's Dragon Son, even before Ivanka, back until the Bark when Kuma refers to Luffy's Dragon Son, is just crazy to me. It was right there, but we didn't see this coming. Look at Luffy's dialogue with Sabaody when he meets PX1 for the first time. He says, "Who are you?" This can be interpreted as Luffy seeing PX1 and thinking that this isn't Kuma, but a whole different person because that isn't the Kuma he met a year ago. This might look as a far-fetched, but the next thing he says makes it even more interesting. Chapter 508, the Straw warn Luffy, stay back. He's one of the warlords of the sea. Luffy answers, how do you all know? As in he already knew about this. That is an interesting way of looking at it. You know, I just finished rewatching that section, and I didn't think of it in that way. And later in Return to Sabaody, when Frankie tells everyone about Kuma, Luffy doesn't say anything. This is all pretty interesting, but it all seems far-fetched, so I don't know if this is true or not. Hey, yo, stick to your agenda. That's really, really cool. I did not think of those lines in that type of way. Also, Nico Robin and a cowboy hat in 2023. I'm on my knees. God bless you, Oda. Yo, miss all Sunday. Miss all Sunday, baby. Yeah, appreciate you, yo. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Recon comes in and says Kizaru ACC, or actually has some subtly great character writing. This man went from doing the Nika post to fighting against him, right? I actually feel bad for him as well. He's just a slave to the world government, as so many of them are. I seriously wonder if he will defect from WG like Saul did. And also, what's up with Kuma going to Windmill Village? The biggest question mark, man. This is kind of out there, but since this happened right before Luffy leaves, and since Luffy's boat capsized because of the whirlpool, I think Kuma was sent to capture the man by flames. He causes whirlpools. And in the process of capturing him, the aftermath was the whirlpool. And that's how this might connect back to chapter 1. Oh my god. I didn't even think about that. About the whirlpool. Oh, that's crazy. And that's why the very first thing that Luffy... Oh. Yo, Recon, you cooked with that, man. You cooked. You cooked. You cooked. Yo, I could totally see that. I could totally see that being the case, man. Could you imagine? Yo. Going all the way back to the beginning of the story with that one. Yo, I mess with that. I mess with that heavy, Recon. I mess with that heavy, man. Thank you. Oh man, that's a banger. That's a banger right there. But Fez comes in and says, Kuma saying we'll never meet again hits so much harder. Yo, it really does, dude. I was, you know, that's a really sad chapter / episode, just in general, because of the content that's going on, right? The straws being separated and stuff. But it hits so much harder because of lines like that. So much harder. You know, there was a certain section where Bonnie's crew is telling her that and I'm trying to remember the exact line, but it was basically talking about the pacifistas, or implying something about the pacifistas, and you get to see the look on Bonnie's face, and it's just like immediately my heart sank. I was like, oh my god, man. I was like, oh man. When Bonnie saves Zoro basically saves him. But I should say Bonnie saves St. Charlos from getting cut in half by Zoro. That hits way different now too. It's like all of that stuff with Bonnie, Social Dragons, with Kuma, all that stuff. It hits different. It's so different, man. But it hits so much harder. It hurts. We knew of this scene for so long, how Luffy's the man who Kuma sought for salvation of Egghead, but now Kuma redeems himself as someone unsavable, and it has me at a loss for words. It's incredible. It's such a tragic story, man, but it's so well written, This man gave up his very being for Bonnie without any regrets. Any regrets in the slightest, yo. And I hope the drum's liberation will be enough to make Kumachi once again. To awaken Kumachi once again. I'm telling you, if that happens, it's gonna be one of the greatest chapters in the entire series, yo. Easy. Thank you, Befez. We're gonna read a few more here. Great comments so far. DJ comes in and says, Coach, what a chapter. Give praise to Oda for making it this far. 1,100 chapters. Go to 1,100 chapters, man. It's a lot of consistency. Here's my thoughts. As many people said, Kizaru has to make a decision. Remember how we see Kizaru holding back against Luffy? Kizaru didn't even want to hurt Bonnie. I'm betting that Kizaru didn't want to see his friends killed because he spent some time with them. Vegapunk, Tomorrow, Bonnie, and Kuma. As we saw throughout this arc, right? He was being very remorseful in his actions. He even directly says it at certain points, where he's directly saying that, I'm trying to remember the exact line. It was something along the lines of like, I'd rather not be doing this, right? Like it's unfortunate that I have to do this. Yeah, I would much rather, be able to spend time with people that are here. And that's not the exact words, but basically what he was saying. Kizaru has to be a wild card. He most certainly is a wild card. And yes, Kizaru must stay Marine even if he does turn against WG and betray Saturn. Kizaru's been holding back. He doesn't want to do anything on the WG's orders, but he has no choice. He has to follow every time. And that's what makes Kizaru such an interesting character. And like you said, a wild card, especially after this chapter. Because based on the interactions and the connections that have been made, it's gonna lead to something. It's gonna lead to something, man. I can't wait. Thank you, DJ. Tayagam3278 comes in and says, the sheer amount of possibilities we may encounter next chapter just begs the question of how many people know about Nika and how many of them will be able to recognize him. That's the thing too, right? It's like now that we're getting deeper into the end game and Nika has resurfaced into the world, now we're going to start seeing characters who have heard of this individual that could potentially recognize him down the line, especially those that are deeply connected to the Sun God stuff, right? Like the individuals that we know based on Big Mom's flashback in Elbaf, they're very connected to that thing as well. So the moment Luffy uses Gear 5 there, I'm assuming they're immediately going to be like, oh man, is that who I think it is? And of course, after that, we're smooth sailing into the final saga. So from here on out, there's going to be a lot of individuals, maybe even some that will catch us off guard on how much they know about the Nika situation and stuff. So, absolutely. Let me see here. Matthias Cerulli comes in and says, I really wonder what was Kuma planning to do in the Goa Kingdom. He must have known that it was Dragon's home, right? Eva didn't know, but maybe Kuma did. Kizaru's character really intrigues me. It really seems that he is a genuine nice guy that is very corrupted by his environment. He's dancing the drums of liberation without his admiral cape, without the heavy burden on his shoulders. Yo, that's a great way of putting it, when he is really free. Without Sakazuki talk to chapter 292, Oda's finally making the admirals more deep characters, with Aramaki being the one more cartoony villain, made to be hated while making the others more complex and likable. And that's just for right now, right? Like, we assume that Aramaki down the line is going to continue to get his characterization as well, leading into the final saga. Because you're absolutely right, they're all getting it as we get closer to the end here, for sure. And that's been one of my favorite things about this entire arc so far, is the way that we continue to add so many layers to characters like that. It's like that's what made Fujitora and Kuzan really stood out to me, because of how many layers I felt like their characters had for quite some time, and Kuzan especially now, there's just so many there. But now whenever we add Sakazuki throughout the course of the series, and of course now Borsalino, it's like, man, so all of the admirals, by the time that it's said and done, they're going to go down as some of the most well-written characters in the series as well, which I think is really, really cool. James Whittick 3483 comes in and says, I think Kuma rolling up to Windmid Village could be an opportunity to see Dragon and possibly address that Luffy has the Nika fruit. Five Elders not gunning for Luffy as soon as they saw his Gum powers is something that has to be addressed eventually. Yes, and that is something that potentially could be the connection there with Kuma. Kuma and Dragon could be a great duo to somehow suppress that info. That's interesting. Like, they work together to ensure that information never reached the WG. That is an interesting possibility, honestly, James. The most wanted criminal helping his son out in that way. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. I wonder how they would do that. But I like that. I like that a lot. Praetorius comes in and says Kuma will probably find out that Luffy's Nika, which will recontextualize the whole time skip by itself, and it's gonna be rewatched what I just watched again. But what I'm not most excited about is that he also knew Luffy was Dragon's son through the bark, which means he had to have spoken to Dragon, and we might just get a bit more than ... In fact, it could even be the reason why Dragon was Logtown all the way back then. Yes. You're absolutely right. That is extremely exciting. To know why Dragon was actually in Logtown at the time. He was on his way to see about what Kuma was telling him. I started the series 10 years ago, and Dragon and Logtown was that first big mystery that elevated what the silly pirate manga could be to a new level. 100%. Can't believe it's even possible that we'll find out about it in less than a week. Almost exactly 1,000 chapters later. Yo, Praetorius, that's a great point. That's a great point. And you're right, that really was one of the first mysteries that make this series so addicting to talk about and discuss, was Dragon, especially with how it was immediately followed up with, by the time we reached Drum Island and seeing it within the Drum Island / Alabasta. When we hear about, Dragon being the major talking point at the Reverie, that took place whenever Vivi had the chance to attend. And it was just like any time that something was happening there, or they needed to talk about a criminal in that particular time period, they referred to as Dragon, or they referred to Dragon and talked about how Dragon was making his move and stuff of that nature. Is such an interesting character, like you said. So much mystery with the ability. Why was he there? What's the connection with Smoker? Why did Smoker talk to him in like a familiar tone? It's like so many things that were immediately established of like, you got a face tattoo. It's like so many things, man. So many things. But no, you're absolutely right, Praetorius. And could you imagine us getting it, like you said, getting an answer almost exactly 1,000 chapters later? That'd be peak. That'd be peak, man. Let's read two more. Gold Slash comes in, says, peak raw fire. Dragon didn't make his move yet, but when it happens, I'm gonna lose it. Still hyped. Agenda piece. Seeing everyone hit the Nika dance having fun really does show that Kizaru doesn't want to be doing this. I'm wondering if he is taking a longer rest to recover, so Bonnie and Vegapunk might get away. He did get slam jammed with the White Star gun, so it's possible he just KO'd. But I'm wondering if, unlike Ivanka, if Kuma knew Luffy was Dragon's son all along, or if he learned that after and kept tabs on Luffy low-key. I could see both of them having some sort of play, but I'm gonna go with Kuma knew Luffy was Dragon's son, and then he might have removed that part of his memory. I could definitely see him like storing that memory away to ensure that that like no one, if they were ever going to try to pick his brain or like put him on like a hypothetical lie detector, he would not be able to answer something that he does not remember, and he has the ability to do that. So I wonder if that's going to have something to play with it as well. Now that you bring that up in regards to Kuma knowing that Luffy was Dragon's son all along, or if he learned it along the way. He might have learned it way before, and maybe he's forced himself to forget. Or he could have just kept tabs on him low-key. We really have no idea. Really have no idea, yo. But thank you, Gold Slash. And then Suber right here will read this as the last comment. I missed the milestone stream. I feel it was a mod. Nah, yo, it was just me streaming at a different time than normal, man. No worries. I'll try to put in some good thoughts here at the very least. Chapter 1100 Afterthoughts, a special chapter featuring Ace, Sabo, and Luffy in a single chapter. You see the vision, dude. You see the vision after a long time, out here forever. Sorry for spoiling Devil's Deal last week in the Afterthoughts. Dude, the chapter right after, man. We get that. It was so cool. At the end, Kuma gets some orders as he is entering Fuchsia Village. So what could those orders be? And the order was for him to find Bonnie. That is interesting. I haven't heard that one yet. I think the letters Kuma wrote never reached Bonnie. So Bonnie escaped before her 1-year observation period. As the kind who also said, I was worried when you escaped. Ah, good connection, good connection. Now, what is Kuma doing in Fuchsia Village? Did Kuma come there knowing the location of the Gum Gum fruit, but he left after learning it was eaten by Luffy, a kid? And that's probably the link through how we came to know Luffy's dragon son. However, we learn later in Sabaody that Luffy did not know Kuma, so we can say Luffy did not meet Kuma in Windmill Village, but he could have removed his memory. So far from the information of the story, we know Kuma first saw Luffy through the bark. There he recognized Luffy as dragon's son, but we know Ivankov did not know that fact in Impel Down. So how did Kuma come to know? Is this how we get this information next week? An idea I got later, so it's edited. What if Kuma erased Luffy's memories about his parents, and that's why Luffy doesn't know about his father and mother? Seems very off, but just shared it. I think I'd be more down for Kuma erasing Luffy's memories about Kuma than about his parents. Because I genuinely do believe that Luffy has zero memories of both of his parents. But if Kuma removed his memory about his mom, and he were to somehow get that back, or if Kuma knows who Luffy's mom actually is, oh man, we get a hint to that before Kuma dies? Oh man. Predictions. Now after the chapter I read through Kuma's introduction, 233 until the bark. Through the bark, which is a year after this chapter, Kuma says he is not completely a cyborg, but he is not like Frankie, because Frankie has his humanity. After that comes stretch of Sabaody where we next see Kuma. He saves Luffy because he was Dragon's son or because of his fruit. However, things change as Kuma becomes a complete cyborg in between the time skip. Still, Kuma saves his son for 2 years after the incident. Vegapunk organized a special command inside Kuma for him to do that. These details now make more sense. Vegapunk, Dragon, and Kuma connection. But why Vegapunk was not questioned about that by Saturn, or did Vegapunk hide it as it was the final request of Kuma to Vegapunk? True that, man. There might be something else too. You're right. I didn't think about that other possibility as well. We have to get some sort of answer to that. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I could definitely see us diving into that. So I think in the next chapter we see all these things get answered, and that might be the last chapter of Flashback 1101. 3 more years to get to the present in the story. At this point, I don't know what more tragedy awaits us in the present. But 1102, possibly the year-end chapter, will be the start of the Egghead incident, it seems. Don't even get me started, man. Don't even get me started if that's the case. Hope you like these thoughts. Try to make it in the next stream. Stay safe and healthy, King. Nothing but love to you, yo. Nothing but love to you. Thank you, Subra, for the awesome comment. And then I'm going to read one more because I love the title of this thing that they have here. You did see 2694 says title for chapter 1101, Commander of the Revolutionary Army Dragon. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the title of chapter, dude? Holy flag darts. But I will see y'all next time. Thank y'all so much for stopping by. I truly appreciate y'all for putting up with another late Afterthoughts. But it is what it is. I couldn't miss out on 1100, man. So I will see y'all next time. Thank you so much for watching. Can't wait to see what Oda has in store for us in 1101. Gonna go continue my rewatch of Impel Down. But I'll see y'all. Take care. Come on. Ace, Sabo, and Luffy in the same chapter, dude.